Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. And it looks like there's going to be another U-turn, because of course there is. Governments are morons. This time, it's the 2030 ban on good normal cars, the sort that don't require child labour to dig out and process lithium. You know, the internal combustion engine. Well, that ban looks like it's going to be pushed back because there isn't the infrastructure. And so all their plans are utterly up the swanny without a paddle. Why? Because it's in government. None of them know what they're doing. There's no joined up thinking, or indeed thinking. They just make these announcements, we're going to do this, and we haven't thought it out. And then when it fails, because politics meets reality, and reality always wins, they have to find various reasons and do certain things like, backpedal, cancel, and then blame other people. Here we go, we're going to have a look at this, but I think your cars are safe for a little bit longer. So the ban on petrol and diesel cars due to start in 2030 may have to be scrapped because of a lack of charging points for electric vehicles, industry experts claim. The government wants to outlaw the sale of new combustion engine models in order to go green. Industry figures suggest this may not be possible. Analysis highlights a lack of high-powered chargers at motorway service stations or anywhere. And also anyone who lives in flats will have a problem charging their car. And also, they're horrendously expensive. It's just a non-starter. Like some of these cars when they haven't got any electricity. The ban on diesel and petrol cars was due in 2030 and it may have to be scrapped because of a lack of charging points for electric vehicles, the industry experts warn. The other problem they also have is they don't have enough generating capacity at the moment. When you think there's 30 odd million cars on Britain's roads, if all of them become electric, you'd need to build sort of 6 more nuclear power stations just to power the cars. It's taken 30 years to build one. So don't hold your breath. The government wants to outlaw the sale of new combustion engine models in order to go green and cut pollution, though nobody knows why, because even if you shut the entirety of Britain down, it would make zero difference. But industry figures suggest this may not be possible. Analysis by the RAC last week highlighted a lack of high-powered electric vehicle chargers at motorway service stations. And the government has pledged that every motorway service area has at least 6 rapid chargers by the end of 2023. But the RAC said only 27 out of 119 motorway services in England meet that target. Now, of course, this is one of the big problems you have. You've got a lot of cars on the road, and if you even with 6 charge points. Now, charging an electric vehicle takes half an hour minimum. Even with fast chargers, it takes about half an hour. Now, you can go into the petrol station that's next door to these chargers and you've got maybe 16 pumps. Now, it takes, 5 minutes, say, to fill your tank. So, 5 minutes divided by an hour is 12. You've got 16 pumps, so 12 16s, 192. So, in an hour, you can have 192 cars go through. In an hour, fully tanked up, away they go. You've got 6 charging points for these cars, half an hour each, that's 12 an hour. That is nowhere near enough. And when you've had a heavy night of snow, people are driving slow, they've got the lights on, they've got the heaters on, they're on the motorway, it's a long trip, it's a long way, very slow, they're driving, they're running low on energy. All of a sudden someone stops, someone behind him has to stop, boom, boom, boom. Next thing you know, the whole motorway has ground to a grid halt. And it isn't a case of them coming along and just putting a bit of petrol into the first car and away you go. No. They have to bring that charger up to the front car and then spend ages charging that front car. Then move on to the next car, one car at a time. It will take weeks to clear that motorway because nobody's thought this through. Anyway, the findings will fuel charge point anxiety, which experts warn is deterring drivers from buying electric cars in case they cannot power them up while on journeys. Well, charge point anxiety is a massive thing. Until you can get an electric car that can do 500 miles on a charge, that will take under 10 minutes to fully charge, people aren't going to touch it. At the moment, I can walk in, I can fill my car, it takes 5 minutes, I can get in that car and I can drive, and I can do nearly 900 miles in my car on one tank. Until you get anything even half that in an electric car, it's going to put a lot of people off. Anyway, Lisa Watson, the Director of Sales at Close Brothers Motor Finance, said the UK is set to fall significantly short of its charging point targets. This could have a profound effect on consumer uptake of alternative fuel vehicles. If more isn't done to improve charging infrastructure, the 2030 ban on new petrol and diesel vehicles will seem an increasingly tough ask. Rapid charge points can add about 100 miles of range to an EV in 35 minutes and is seen as crucial to encouraging more motorists who use their cars for long journeys to make the switch for electrics. Now, 100 miles in 35 minutes. If I'm driving from, say, Land's End to John O'Groats, I can do it non-stop on one tank. If you are in an electric car, you're stopping 9-10 times. Maybe more if it's cold weather. Maybe more if you're driving at night with all the lights on and it's cold. 10 times at half an hour time. I mean, you're taking 5 hours of standing around scratching your backside. Meanwhile, I'm carrying up the road. All right, we don't all do Land's End to John O'Groats every day, but the principle's there. You're going to spend a lot longer doing nothing. You know, it's going to add a lot of cost, for example, to businesses. Because we're some kind of rep who's out on the road. Well, every 100 miles he's got to stop and charge half an hour of his day. Once, twice. Reps are easy to do a couple of 100 miles a day. And if they're going to have to stop for 35 minutes every time just to charge, it takes a big chunk out of their otherwise working time. It will cost businesses a fortune. And that's on top of the actual cost of buying these cars, which is twice or even 3 times the cost of a normal car. Quentin Wilson, founder of EV campaign group Fair Charge, said, when you look at how quickly Tesla put their superchargers into the motorway service network, you're forced to wonder why the government is working at such a glacial speed to do the same. It's because it's government. They don't know what they're doing. They're filled with idiots. They're not there to deal with what they actually need. They just want to go, oh, we've got to be seen to be doing something, because being seen to do it is far more important than doing it. There are also concerns about distribution of public charging points. Whilst Westminster has 2,196, there are just 1,593 across Liverpool, Manchester, Newcastle upon Tyne, Leeds, Sheffield and Birmingham combined. And yet Westminster, tiny little place, nearly twice as many. You know, it's ridiculous. The Society of Motor Manufacturers and Traders expects plug-in battery electric vehicles to account for 18.4% of car sales this year and 22% next year, down from a previous forecast of 19 and 23%. RAC spokesman Simon Williams, not the actor I suspect, says the importance of ensuring high-powered charging is readily available up and down our motorway network can't be emphasised enough. A lack of charging facilities is becoming one of the most widely quoted reasons for drivers not going electric. That and the price and the damage that they do to the environment. And if you doubt it, just watch how the lithium is mined. Anyway, there we go. And so it looks like they won't be able to do it because they aren't meeting the targets for getting the chargers in. And of course, these chargers only go in to areas where there's money for a start, because only the rich can afford the cars. So your likes of your tenements in, you know, or your tower blocks, where are they going to put the chargers for them? Where are they going to put the chargers for the poor who can barely afford these cars in the first place? And don't forget, a second-hand electric car is fairly worthless, because it isn't like an internal combustion engine, which can run for 250,000 miles if it's looked after. These things only get so many charges before the batteries die, and you need another £10,000. So a cheap car, all of a sudden, isn't cheap. They're madness if they think this is going to work, until they get the prices down to hundreds of pounds, not tens of thousands of pounds for these battery packs. It isn't going to work. I will be sticking with my big diesel until the day I cark it. Anyway, I shall round off and come up. So there we are, another example of a government's, joined up thinking. Let's do this. Let's push this. Let's make everybody go along this route. We haven't thought it through. We haven't got the infrastructure. We've got no hope of ever getting the infrastructure. The infrastructure is going to cost us 10 times as much as we thought because people lied to us in the early stages. And of course, there's all those people for whom, even if the infrastructure was there, it will never work for them because they can never afford electric cars. And as I say, second-hand ones are pointless because they aren't cheap. The batteries go and end up costing as much as buying a new car. It's ridiculous. It won't work. It's a failure. And it just means that poor people won't be able to afford a car, and so the poor people will be stuck in their little enclaves, their ghettos. And that, of course, is ultimately what this is about. Anyway, I shall round off. Thank you very much for watching. If you like what you see and hear on the channel, please hit that subscribe button, ring that bell, leave a like, leave a comment, please share the video. And until next time, stay safe, stay well. Don't ever give up your car until you absolutely have to. And goodbye.